Where has Mr. Macron, please? 3 days later, he still had nothing to say. Well, to be fair, he said so much. One moment we were going over there, we were going to settle in. Then the next moment, no, that was out of the question. Then we had to go back. Then the next time, we were going to send weapons to strike deep into Russia. What? It's become crazy, hasn't it? Striking deep into Russia. Have you ever opened a history book, Mr. President? Don't you know you can't beat the Russians except when they leave their own country, which will happen to them in the world? This isn't a video game. It's not just a passing circumstance. And that's why, when as early as 2008, we raised the alarm by saying, be careful with what you're doing. When you decide that Ukraine and Georgia should join NATO, you're leading us directly to war with Russia, because Russia will never be able to accept it, just as we French would never accept having heavily armed people right on our borders, and that there would be such contradictions with us that we know they would end badly. I'm telling you all this again because you are heading toward major events, and you will constantly need to rely on your intelligence. So let me get back to my point. Here is the Gaza war, settled by Mr. Trump. Settled, as you know, there was a ceasefire that immediately resulted in 300 deaths and 2 rounds of bombings on Lebanon. The ceasefire is not being respected by the genocidal government of Mr. Netanyahu, who continues to kill. This is what they call peace Trump. And now it is said that a peace agreement has been reached with Mr. Putin regarding Ukraine. And the Europeans, who played no role and are, in a way, bowed down in their servility. And now they feel offended because no one asked for their opinion. And they are realizing that in reality, Black Americans have absolutely no interest in either Europe or its leaders, because they see them as a branch run by small-minded people with no real political vision. They've accepted everything so far, so why not just keep going? That's what they tell themselves. They don't even care. But for us, now is the time to demand accountability and to ask ourselves, what exactly have you decided here? Because after all, there is something they have decided in both cases, in Ukraine and in Gaza. There is one thing in common: they don't care about people's opinions. They're the ones who keep talking to us about democracy all the time. They're the ones who constantly tell us, you're a bit suspicious of having ties with Mr. Putin, and then with extremists here or there, depending on the day, and they pin that on us. But who decided that there would be no consultation, neither with the Palestinians nor with the Ukrainians living in Donbass or Crimea, and elsewhere, to ask them their opinion, whether they want to be Russian or whether they want to be Ukrainian? Because in the end, it's still them who will find themselves in that situation. That's why we must not let up our pressure, not even for a single day. For us, it's the people who decide. The Ukrainians of Donbass, those of Crimea, those from all the regions involved in the conflict between Ukrainians and Russians must be able to express themselves and give their opinion. It's less difficult to organize an election than a war. And likewise, the Palestinians must be able to give their opinion. Macron, please. 3 days later, he still had nothing to say. Well, to be fair, he said so much. One moment we were going over there, we were going to settle in. Then the next moment, no, that was out of the question. Then we had to go back. Then the next time, we were going to send weapons to strike deep into Russia. What? It's become crazy, hasn't it? Striking deep into Russia. Have you ever opened a history book, Mr. President? Don't you know you can't beat the Russians except when they leave their own country, which will happen to them in the world? And we are not going to go to war with Russia. We need to find a way to come to an understanding and to ask for guarantees for ourselves. I'm not straying from Archelor, I'm coming back to it. Guarantees for ourselves. That means, who is going to clear the mines from the Black Sea? Who is going to clear the areas that have been mined in Ukraine? Who is going to guarantee the safety of Ukraine's worn-out nuclear power plants? Who? Who is going to do it? That is a security issue for us. We shouldn't go to war with the Russians. We need to come to an understanding with them. Because Russia is a European state. And if we are able to come to an understanding with everyone else, we should be able to do so with them as well. And after that, they'll do as they see fit, because we're not so brilliant that we can go around lecturing others. Well, they need to sort out their own situation. Don't accept war. So if you don't accept war, you prefer diplomacy. So if you want diplomacy, then you have to work towards the union of peoples, towards things we do together, the things we no longer do. What has come out of what we've done so far? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, except that we've pushed the Chinese, the Russians, and a few others into a single block.